The blood-soaked earth of Cannae still steamed as the vultures descended. 70,000 Roman soldiers lay dead in a single afternoon, their broken bodies testament to the most catastrophic military defeat in history. Among the survivors, a young officer named Publius Cornelius Scipio stared across the killing field and understood a terrible truth. Rome's greatest enemy wasn't just winning, he was untouchable. Hannibal Barca had turned warfare into an art form, and the Republic stood on the brink of extinction. But what separates a survivor from a conqueror? What transforms trauma into mastery? This is the story of the man who studied disaster and engineered the impossible, the only general capable of defeating the undefeatable. For 16 years, Hannibal had operated on Italian soil like a ghost made flesh. He didn't just win battles, he dismantled the Roman military doctrine itself. At Trebia, he turned weather into a weapon. At Lake Trasimene, he transformed geography into an ambush. At Cannae, he orchestrated the perfect tactical annihilation, his troops executing the double envelopment with surgical precision. The Senate watched their legions evaporate like morning fog. Traditional Roman strategy, built on discipline and frontal assault, became a liability. They were fighting yesterday's war against tomorrow's general, and the cost was existential.
Rome faced a crisis of leadership. The old aristocracy, those gray-haired senators who'd built careers on procedure and precedent, were paralyzed. They understood the mathematics of defeat, but not the calculus of innovation. When volunteers were needed to secure Rome's strategic interests in Spain, the room fell silent. These weren't cowards, they were pragmatists who recognized career suicide when they saw it. Spain represented Carthage's economic engine, the silver mines and Iberian manpower fueling Hannibal's war machine. Whoever took that command would either reshape history or become a footnote in Rome's collapse. Then a 24-year-old officer stood. Scipio wasn't asking for permission, he was seizing opportunity while his elders counted their political capital. The Senate, desperate and out of options, granted him proconsular authority. What they saw as reckless ambition was actually calculated vision. Scipio had been at Cannae, he'd watched friends die in those killing fields. But unlike his fellow survivors who saw only trauma, Scipio extracted data. He understood Hannibal's methodology, the psychological warfare, the tactical flexibility, the mastery of terrain and timing. The student had been studying the master, and now the student would go to work. While Rome's attention remained fixed on the predator in their heartland, Scipio executed a strategic pivot that would define modern military thinking. He didn't attack Hannibal's strength, he attacked his supply chain. New Carthage, the jewel of Carthaginian Spain, stood as the logistical hub of their entire operation. Conventional wisdom deemed it impregnable, protected by walls, garrison, and geography. Scipio spent months gathering intelligence, interviewing fishermen, studying tidal patterns, mapping vulnerabilities. When he moved, it wasn't with overwhelming force, but with overwhelming information.
The assault on New Carthage remains a masterclass in operational planning. Scipio timed his attack to coincide with low tide when a supposedly impassable lagoon became wadable. While defenders focused on the main gate, Roman troops emerged from water that shouldn't have allowed passage, scaling walls that should have been secure. The city fell in a single day. More importantly, Scipio's treatment of the conquered population revealed strategic sophistication beyond pure military genius. He returned hostages to local tribes, transforming potential enemies into allies. He studied captured Carthaginian tactics, reverse engineering Hannibal's playbook. This wasn't conquest, it was corporate acquisition and restructuring. But capturing territory meant nothing without reforming the instrument of war itself. The Roman legion, that legendary formation that had conquered the Mediterranean, had proven obsolete against adaptive enemies. Scipio undertook the dangerous work of innovation during wartime. He maintained the legion's disciplined structure, but introduced tactical flexibility. He cross-trained units, allowing maniples to respond to battlefield chaos rather than executing predetermined patterns. He professionalized his officer corps, promoting based on competence rather than aristocratic lineage. The Roman army had operated like a machine. Scipio was teaching it to think. The Battle of Ilipa demonstrated the return on this investment. Facing a numerically superior Carthaginian force under experienced commanders, Scipio deployed the ultimate psychological warfare. He used Hannibal's own tactics against Hannibal's lieutenants. For days, he positioned his troops in predictable formations, conditioning the enemy to expect standard Roman doctrine. Then, on the day of battle, he inverted everything. His strongest units hit the flanks while holding the center, executing the same double envelopment that had destroyed Rome at Cannae. The Carthaginian commanders, trained in Hannibal's methods, recognized the trap too late. Scipio wasn't just winning, he was making a statement to his ultimate opponent.
Spain secured, Scipio returned to Rome not as a supplicant, but as a proven executive of warfare. He proposed what the Senate considered madness: invade Africa, attack Carthage itself, force Hannibal to abandon Italy and defend his homeland. The resistance was immediate and predictable. Political rivals, jealous of his success and terrified of his ambition, questioned his authority, his age, his audacity. They preferred the slow bleed of Hannibal in Italy to the risk of African invasion. But Scipio understood leverage. He took his case to the people, secured funding through popular support, and assembled an invasion force. The Senate, outmaneuvered politically, could only watch as their youngest general prepared to execute the boldest strategic gambit in Roman history. The African campaign unfolded with methodical brilliance. Scipio forged alliances with Numidian cavalry, the finest horsemen in the ancient world, flipping Carthage's military advantage. He devastated the North African countryside, turning Carthage's agricultural wealth into leverage. The message to Hannibal was clear: return home or watch your civilization burn. After 16 years of occupation, after bleeding Rome nearly
disaster in engineering miracle. That's the Scipio strategy. Learn, adapt, and execute when everyone else is paralyzed by fear.